I'll just go ahead and get the title today out of the way. Today the title is Look Up. The last time I stood up here, it's been a couple weeks ago now because of guest speakers and unexpected circumstances. That's all I can say. Unexpected circumstances. And the last time I was up here, I put my heart out here. Just where I was and where I was struggling. I always tell people that I talk to that are like, I feel like I want to preach, I just don't know where. And I was like, man, just let them know that you struggle. Be transparent. Let them know that this isn't a pulpit of perfection, but this is just a platform that God's given you to share your testimony at the end of the day. In my walk with God, that's kind of been my preaching stance. It's just been one 3.5 year long testimony, about what me and God have been working on. Because I never want you to think that he put me behind here because of anything to do with me. And man, I put my heart out here last time about my struggles when I was going through and the health issues and the doubts and insecurities of being a man and how I'm like going from a single season into a married season, which now has a family and all these things attached to it that I just feel like I'm not enough for, And I'll tell you one thing, when you preach behind a pulpit in front of people or on a soapbox in front of people or at a job in front of people, if you preach in front of people, sometimes be ready. Sometimes be ready because the enemy doesn't like it. And with that comes deeper levels of attack sometimes. Recently I've learned how heavy the pulpit is. But it's not a weight that I have to carry by myself, thank God. Because I'd have stopped showing up 2 years ago. You know what I mean? So, real quick, some of you probably seen the post on Facebook, right? Man, we've been through the ringer lately. And it was probably 2 weeks ago now. And Darren started getting sick. And that's why I missed that Sunday, because we were in and out of the ER. And long story short, Monday we ended up going to the ER for the third time in 3 days. And then we ended up in Morgantown for almost a week. And man, God taught me a lot in that week. As devastating as I thought it was that Sunday morning, sitting on the edge of my bed, bawling out to the Lord and Jennifer coming in and consoling me, man, it wasn't nothing compared to what was coming. And I realized that moment on the edge of my bed before church that morning, I think it was Friday even, that it was preparation for what was coming. So I seen that moment of desperation and where I cried out to the Lord and I was consoled by my wife as preparation. That was the grace of God in my life. Being like, I need you to get out of the way. I need you to understand that you can't do anything by yourself without me. I need you to understand that you are limited because what's coming, you can't do nothing about it. And I sat in the hospital for a week, sleeping in a chair beside my wife. Hands down, hardest moment of my life. Because our kid was in pain. He was sick. He was hungry. And there was nothing we could do about it. Doctors report after doctors report after doctors report with nothing. Nothing. We're like, there's something going on, man. He's wailing out in pain. Like there's something happening to him. He is in pain, and we could tell. And I watched my wife, and I use this word not in the normal sense, but decline over the week. Because that's her baby boy, And I sat there. I couldn't fix him. I couldn't heal them. I couldn't make the doctors come in on time because they took forever for everything. I couldn't console her enough to overcome the grief that she was feeling over her child being in pain and sick in front of her. All I could do in my own power was keep her from punching a nurse in the face. That was about it. Thank God Bubba's been gifted humor. But long story short, that week what I learned about was that at the end of me is the beginning of God. I learned that the Bible says that God grows close to the brokenhearted and crushed in spirit. And I'm like, why? Well, I've asked this question multiple times over the last time I've preached. Why does it always got to be the broken? Why does it always got to be the broken? Why does it always have to lead to us being broken to get more of God? Well, the Bible tells me that he's close to the brokenhearted and crushed in spirit. And I've also learned recently, hopefully enough, it's because in a broken and crushed state is when we're more receptive to divine intervention. We have to come to the end of us to understand and be humble enough to know that there's literally nothing that we can do about it. And I watched me and my wife, who we have the ability to be survivors. We've done it. Throughout active addiction together, we can default into survivor mode and make it. And I watched it not be enough in that moment in that hospital. Even being a survivor wasn't enough. It just wasn't. And and what's crazy is to this day we've had multiple reports about Darren, but nothing has been stated on what's wrong. So in that hospital, I found the end of me again that I never thought I'd find again. And what a glorious situation it was. In those moments, I found myself coming back to the Lord in prayer in a way I've never prayed before. I started to watch gifts and lessons that I've learned in this church activate. Like, speak to the mountain, not to your God. Like, call it out specifically. Like, speak life to the organs and death to the sickness, and I rebuked the spirit of death off of his body. Like, we came home and we still were going through it. Like, we got sent home from the hospital with nothing to fix it and still had the same problem. Like, we went to a hospital to get fixed and nothing happened. That we were just sent home almost like an elderly person, but we didn't get the hospice. But at home, I understood what love is. Because it says a woman is to submit to her husband, but a man is to love his wife like Christ loved, which is a sacrificial love. And there were so many nights that our kids were asleep, and they were safe, and they were comfortable. And after crying herself to sleep and being consoled by me, my wife is asleep, and she's safe, and she's comfortable, and I was tired. And I just wanted to go to sleep. But I decided to love my family and my wife like Christ loved the church. And I gave up my time, and I'm not building me up. I promise you, please don't think it's a look what Bubba does. Because like Jen said, you don't know how much this oil costs. And I sat there on the edge of my bed, and I cried out to the Lord like Lamentations. And I started speaking to the pancreas, the gallbladder, to his stomach, to his lower intestine. I started speaking to those things. I started covering them with the blood of Christ, and I started to tell them that they need to come into alignment with the will of God the way he designed them to work. I started rebuking anything that was evil against them. Because if we went to a hospital to get fixed and we came home with the same problem, this ain't a hospital situation. And on the edge of that bed, I started to look up way more than I ever have. Because this is a problem bigger than I could do by myself, nor could me and my wife do together. And I just started crying out to the Lord, Lord, heal him, fix him. Give her peace. I cover her mind. Give her moments of joy and reflections of how good you've been. Because I could see the other end of this. There's two options. We either walk in glory and use that glory to glorify God, or it's going to be the thing that tore our family apart. Those were two options. And I chose in those moments, I'm going to look to God. Because like that song, he's never forsaken me. He's never left me. But I was reminded that he didn't say the cross wouldn't be heavy and the hill wouldn't be hard to climb, but he promised he'd be with us. So I had to call on him because at the end of me is where he begins. And I was reminded that there's plenty of things in life that are going to happen to me and us as a whole that sometimes all we can do, I even say it like that, which is crazy. All we can do is look up. Look up. Look up. In praise report, the doctors still don't know what's wrong. They put cameras in his little body and it was like they went into mechanic mode. You know, it is where you go to a mechanic and they just try to fix the thing that they think's wrong, and then they just keep fixing the next thing and the next thing, and the problem never goes away. That's what the doctors were doing. It was exploratory. They literally used that term. And I decided that there's another term they're going to use, and I posted it on our Facebook, and it's going to say an unexplained phenomenon. Because eventually the doctors were going to see Darren, and it was going to be gone. And they couldn't explain it because they didn't give us medicine to fix it, nor did they find the problem, but the problem would be gone. And yesterday, me and my whole family got in our car. We went up to Vienna. We went school shopping with Darren. We went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and we ate us some food, including Darren. And he was not in pain, nor has he been sick. They call it unexplained phenomenon. I call it a miracle of a faithful God when you decide to stop looking in yourself and start looking up instead. In fact, I knew the miracle was going to happen so much that I prayed to God beforehand. And I said, Lord, help me not get bitter when he's rumbling in the kitchen at 2 a.m. Because it's summer, and before this, we'd wake up in the morning, Darren, what you been up all night eating food all night? You ate everything. So I knew that God was going to perform a miracle and the healing was going to happen to the point I went ahead and was like, just go ahead and cover me to not get mad about what I prayed for. Because he taught me to look up. This church has taught me to look up. My mentors have taught me to look up. And sometimes God has to put us in situations that are beyond us to remind us to look up. So that's the word I wanted to share with you guys today is look up. Look up. Matt, this is out of order. I'm sorry. But I want to go to 1 Peter 5:10 first, and then it got changed on the way down. But they're all the same. They're just not in the same order. So why do we look up? Why do we look up? Why do we look up? 1 Peter 5:10 says, but may the God of all grace, who called us to his eternal glory by Christ Jesus, after you have suffered a while. Why do we have to suffer? Because we're not receptive to divine intervention until we've been crushed and broken. I wish there was a different route. I wish there was a different way. But until we as humans find the end of us, we do not find the beginning of God. And I'm here to tell you today, just because you already found God, don't mean you ain't going to find the end of yourself at times. It's like you think we talk about, as soon as you find God, it's roses and rainbows and cupcakes. Well, it's not. In fact, the enemy's angry. But he said, after you suffer while you have a while, perfect, established, strengthened, and settled you. And I had to look those words up. The word perfect means to mend, restore, or equip. After I have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, through the gift of Jesus Christ, mends me, restores me, and equips me. Why do I look up? Because I need mended. I need some restoration, and I do not have what it takes to get through the next thing. A lot of times the battle of me Friday morning waking up and crying out to the God about how I'm not a real man and I'm not enough, prepared me, mended me, restored me, and equipped me for the battle that was about to come. That's what happened. Established, to confirm, to make steadfast. I had a dream that I shared with very few people, and I shared it with Pastor Mark because when it's dreams, that's where I go. I go to my wife because she loves it, and I go to Pastor Mark because he loves it. And I had a dream that I was in front of a church. I won't get into all the specific details, but I was in front of a church failing, floundering, lost my spot in the Bible, forgot what I was preaching about. I was just downright messing it up. And I had a dream that at the end of this messing it up, Lisa, Eddie's wife, comes up to me and she says, just because you don't have it some days doesn't mean you ain't got it. And that's God reminding me that just because I didn't have it Friday morning on the side of that bed doesn't mean I ain't got what it takes to continue to spread the gospel and be the man that my family needs me to be. But I got to look up because he's the one that perfects me and establishes me. He's the one that reaffirms me that you're here for a reason, that you was built for this, that me and you got this. Don't stress about it. Don't worry about it. Because somebody needs to be steadfast in this situation. Somebody other than me. And I'm choosing you because I took you through something first to prepare you for this. Strengthened to give power and an inner fortitude. In that moment on the side of the bed, I was crushed and broken. I was devastated. But he used that situation to give me an inner fortitude because in the moment, watching my wife devastated that her baby boy is hurt and sick, I couldn't lose it. I couldn't. Because if I lost it, it all falls apart. And I'm not saying anything about me, but I'm the head of my family, designed in such a way to be able to help carry those things to heaven. I'm not playing no more. Strengthened with an inner fortitude and settled that I've been given a foundation, that you've been given a foundation and a secure base. Why do we look up? Because we need restored, we need mended and equipped. We need sometimes to be confirmed and made steadfast and unshakable. There's some situations that we need God to keep us from being shakeable, because in that moment in that hospital, if it was on my strength, my accord, my will, my desire, and my ability, I've been shaken like a lamb. A lamb at slaughter. Why do I look up? because he gives me strength and inner fortitude that I can make it through the next problem, because he never promised no problems. He just promised he'd be there in all of them, and there'd be enough of him to get through it. It's called grace. It's called mercy. And then in the worst case scenario, I'm standing on a firm foundation. Because if you ain't standing on a firm foundation, you're already shaky. You're already shaky. And last week, as I was reading in the Bible and I started to go to some places, it brought me to Psalms 121, which, side note, this psalm is by Anonymous. I always love them psalms by Anonymous. They don't know, they speculate, but they don't know, so it's anonymous. But they do know that this psalm was given to encourage travelers on their physical or spiritual journey to Jerusalem. It was a psalm that was written to encourage them as they were going through some dangerous and dark places, to keep them prepared and ready and motivated to keep pushing forward on their way to the promise. Psalms 121. I love how it starts. I will lift up my eyes to the hills. What do you got to do to look up to a hill? You got to look up. Why is he looking up? From whence comes my help? He said, I will lift up my eyes to the hills. From whence comes my help? Because he understood on this journey there's going to be peril. But there's also going to be victory. And the victory comes when you look towards the victor. If you stop looking towards the victor, you just become a victim. Who in here and on the internet's tired of being a victim? Look towards the hills from whence your help comes. Be remembered in remembrance of the last battle. How did you make it? How did you get through it? His name is Jesus. You looked up. You came to the end of yourself. In your weakness, his power was made manifest and known. That's still available. It's not a one and done just to bring you in and then you got to figure it out on your own type of situation. He's a faithful God. My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. My help comes from the Creator of everything that's not limited by anything. Because when you make it, you can't be limited by it. Because you have complete knowledge and understanding of it. Because you made it. He will not what? Allow you. Or allow your foot to be moved. I look to the hills from my help comes from. The Creator of all, who's not limited by anything. And he won't allow you to be moved. There is many times this last 2 weeks of my life, if I was to look into me, I'd have been moved. I'd have been moved so far out of course, it would not have been good. But because I decided to lean on what I know and go back to him, I can remain steadfast and not be moved in the situation. He who keeps you will not slumber. As in, God ain't sleeping on us. There's some of us that have some situations in life that we feel like, God, where are you at? Are you taking a nap? Are you doing something? And I'm here to tell you, whether you be in this room or on the internet, he's telling me to tell you, he's just waiting for you to get out the way. Because this is a situation only meant to glorify him. He said, I'm not going to let you get credit for this one. Because if I let you get credit for this one, you're going to walk away thinking you got this. And he does not sleep on us. Behold, he who keeps Israel shall not slumber nor sleep. He said, come into remembrance of what he did for Israel. He wasn't sleeping on them, and it says he's faithful and consistent, the same as today as he was yesterday, forever and ever. Alpha to the Omega, the beginning to the end, he is the same. He says if he didn't sleep on them, he ain't going to be sleeping on us. And if you feel like because we're not Israelites or we're not Jewish, read some stuff by Paul, and he said Gentiles have just as much rights to Jesus as anybody. It's talking about the Israelites. He's talking about you. He's talking about me. He's talking about us. And he's saying, remember, sometimes we got to get in that Old Testament and remember what God does. He's the God that'll go to war for us. He's the God that the people were so scared and frightened to go into battle. He's like, watch this. And they walked into there, and all they did was just take plunder. They did not fight. They just started picking up stuff. He's the God that makes the enemy encampment go so confused and enraged that they start killing each other, and all you got to do is walk through. He did that for Israel. He'll do it for us. The Lord is your keeper. Church, and those on the internet, I want to remind you today that the Lord is your keeper. He's your keeper. You ever try to thin out your belongings, get ready for a yard sale? The Lord wants me to tell you that when he has a yard sale, you always stay in the keep pile. Everybody got that pile. We got to donate some stuff, but this is the keep pile. He reminds me of that. I watch the show Hoarders with my wife sometimes, and you got those people that don't recognize they have a problem, and all they're thinking about is not what they want to get rid of, but what they want to keep. That's God. Because it says it's in his will that he lose not one. So he's that one that the enemy's going through. What about that one? He's like, no, that was mine. What about that one? Nope, that's keeping that one. What about that? Keeping that one. Oh, Lord, you're so good. The Lord is the shade at your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. When the heat gets hot, the flames won't burn if you allow him to be your keeper. And when it gets dark and scary, he'll allow you to keep on stepping and not fear of stumbling or tripping up or what goes bump in the dark or the mysterious, the unknown. He said, I created it all. I know everything. Don't worry about it. I got you. Hold my hand. I'm your keeper. The Lord shall preserve you from all evil. He shall preserve your soul. That tells me when he says he wants to preserve me from all evil and he'll preserve my soul, that's two separate stanzas. There ain't no evil in heaven, bro. So he preserves your soul means you have an expected end. No matter what goes on here, he'll get you to heaven. But why did he say the first thing? He'll preserve you from evil. Because while you're here, he got your back too. He ain't talking about heaven in that verse. He ends it in heaven. But he wants you to know while you're here, he'll preserve you from evil. If only what? We look to the hills from whence our help comes. It all starts out with like, I'll do all this if you just look to me. What do we say all the time, Ryan? Knock, seek, and it shall be open and it shall be found. That's what we remind each other all the time. That's us looking to him. The Lord shall preserve your goings out and your coming in. He said, I got you everywhere. On your way to work and on your way home. He had us on the way to Morgantown, and he definitely had us on the way home from Morgantown, because we went there looking for help and we came home with none. Not no worldly help. Promise you that. The doctors don't even know that he's healed yet. And they're still looking for something that they ain't going to find. From this time forth to forevermore. He got your back no matter where you go and where you're coming, where you're going. From now until forever. If only we would look up. If only we would look up. If only we would look up. He says the simplicity of the gospel will be a tripping point for many people. This is what he's talking about. He's like, shh, just look up. I got you. To the world, that don't make no sense. That's foolish. The world says, I got to do what I got to do, and I got to bust my butt, and I got to pound the gravestone, I got to pound the grindstone, I got to push, I got to push, I got to push, I got to push, I got to push to get what I want, what I need to take care. There ain't no pushing or grindstone that I could have ground on to make a healing happen inside Darren's body. It's impossible. Unless you look up to the hills from whence your help comes. I'm going to repeat it. Unless you look up to the hills from whence your help comes. It's that simple. But oh, so hard. Why is it so hard? Why in the moment is it so hard? But when I looked up, not only did it usher in the Spirit of God and divine intervention, but it also showed me the grace and mercy of God and the ending of me on the side of that bed. Why did that have to happen? Why did I have to question my own manhood? Why did I have to be frustrated that I can't provide the way I want to provide? He said, because you ain't got this. And what's coming, I need you to know that you ain't got this before you get there, or it's going to be the thing that crushes you and divides and separates your family forever. I do believe the attack that came against me and Jennifer through Darren was an attack to end things. And I don't even think it was Darren's life. Because we had a woman at work prophesy that Darren went through that sickness because he's going to have a great healing ministry, and I'm going to stand on that for the rest of his life. Until the day he walks into it. I'm going to stand on that. Because he said, you can't offer healing you ain't got. And unexplained, it doesn't make sense. Doctors can't give you no. They didn't give us a bad report. They came in like this. Well, what's happening is you pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to school to be a doctor, and you're making all this. You just give me a... That's when I just grabbed Jennifer. I'm like, sit down, sit down. He can afford a lawsuit. Let's sit down. You can't come into a devastated mother who's in the room with her hurting child and just give him a shrug. Because he'll make us perfect, establish, strengthen, and settle us. If we look up in the moment, he gives us all those things. He reaffirms that we're here for a reason, that our marriage was for a reason, that our ministries are for a reason. And this ain't going to take it if we just look up. And I was reminded that at the end of me, sometimes all I can do for my wife is look up for her. As much as I wanted to be Captain Fix-It, I wanted to be the man that had the answers. All I could do was look up for us because we are now one body. So I was going to be the eyes that week. And I decided for our body, our eyes was going to look up. And she would get benefits from it. She would benefit from my sacrifice. Because that's what Jesus did for me, and that's what I'm going to do for my family. And just because this story is not in the Bible, I want to read you a story that's from the Bible. A section. You guys know who Stephen is? Stephen was a man that was persecuted because they told him to shut his mouth about Jesus and about his resurrection because it went against everything the world said. Everything. They were mad about it. But Stephen just keep being Stephen because Stephen was perfect, settled, and established and strengthened because Stephen be looking up while he's here. And even in the worst case scenario, Stephen was told, if you don't shut your mouth, we're going to stone you. That, I won't say it's the number one way that I think would be the worst way to die for me, but it's up there. It's pretty high on the list. Suffocation on my own blood because the stones and the weight and the hurt and the pain and the crushing of bones and the breaking and all this, that sounds pretty bad. And even in the moment that Stephen knew, Acts 7, 55 through 56 states, but he being full of the Holy Spirit. You don't get to a point that you're full of the Holy Spirit unless you have started to learn how to look up in all situations. Not just the situations that you look up from where your help comes from, but you also look up to remember he's the one that did it. To give him the glory for it. To point to him, the one that relieved you from it, that returns you back to your house, that fixed that belly. He was looking up at him in the good and the bad. And said, he being full of the Holy Spirit gazed into the heavens. What did he do? He looked up. And saw the glory of God and Jesus standing at the right hand of God. This was after Jesus come and went. And there's a story in the Bible that tells us that if you look up, he's exactly where he said he would be, doing exactly what he told us to be doing, and he's on the right side of the throne of God, being like, that's one of ours, let's show up and show out. "56, and he said, look, I see the heavens opened, and the Son of Man standing at the right hand of God." Stephen wanted you to know, and the writer of this book wants you to know, that when Stephen looked up at the worst case scenario, God was where he said he was going to be. An ever-present help in the moment of troubles, ready and available, standing and waiting. If only you would look up. If only you would look up. If only you would look up. Stephen be like, every time I look up, God things happen. I bet you he can deal with this stoning too. And you know it's crazy? They stoned him to death. Right after that, they stoned him to death. So literally, Stephen practiced, I do believe he practiced, looking up at the end of him while he was here so no evil would befall him, to the point that being full of the Holy Spirit in the last breath of his life, he decided, I'm going to do what I've been doing is working and look up because there ain't no evil where I'm going. And he saw the glory of God in Jesus being right where they said they were going to be. He said, I go to the Father's house to prepare a place for you. And Stephen, in his last breath and last moment, looked up, and there he was, right where he said he was, because he ain't no liar. And he didn't promise you the cross won't be heavy and the hill won't be hard to climb, but he promised you he'll be with you. That he'll be with you. I experienced the last few weeks of my life a pretty heavy cross. And literally, I didn't think about that till now. We get to the hospital in Morgantown, we park in handicapped parking. And from handicapped parking, you know what Bubba had to do? He literally had to climb a hill. And it's designed to be so. If that hill didn't remind me that the hills ain't going to be hard, but at the top of it, God's going to be there. Because guess what? My wife is loving and reassuring the whole time. Is like, you want to get back in the car? I'll pull up, drop you over there. But guess what? Hand in hand, we made it. Because for us, hand in hand is when God shows up. I'm at a point in life that I had to be reminded that it's our unity that has to happen as a precursor for God to show up in our lives together. If this is a together thing, we better be together thing. And it doesn't mean together like we're both like, we're going to look up, because I promise you, I was looking up and she was looking straight forward for a while. And I ain't talking bad on my wife. I understand why. She created that life. She nurtured that life. She made it in her belly. God intervened and it was in there with Darren in her belly. She was the place for God to first meet him. So I understand. But God gave her a husband who thinks differently. Who is different because we made different. That can look over at his wife looking forward and not knowing what to do, lost, and decide that instead of looking at her with them, I feel so sorry eyes that ain't going to fix nothing. Them I pity you eyes. There's a I don't know what to do either eyes. There's a I'm going to start blaming you because if you wouldn't have said this week and that next week, because that's what it led to. That I can look past the emotion of the situation and the pain and look up. Because I'm the head of the family, and what's in the head? A couple eyes. And I want to leave you with this encouragement. So we know to look up. We know what happens when we look up. We're established, strengthened, settled, and made perfect. We know that it's happened before and it'll happen again. I've testified to again, and Stephen testified to before. Romans 8:35. I want you to remember this. Because there's going to be times in your life that come up that your spirit says look up, but your heart and your flesh says he ain't going to be there. You've messed up too much. You failed. You said the wrong thing. You ain't what he needs. He don't even like you. But I want you to remember Romans 8:35 says, who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation? No. I added the no. I'll just let you know that. I figured you did, but I don't want somebody out there saying I added to the word. Shall tribulation? Nope. Or distress? Nope. Or persecution? Nope. What about famine? Nope. What about nakedness? That's shame and guilt and remorse. Nope. What about peril? Nope. What about sword? Nope. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? I love that Paul asked that question and he didn't give an answer. I do believe Paul didn't give an answer. Not that it was a rhetorical question, is that it was an experiential question. That you would not know the answer to that until you've experienced the love of Christ. And understand that famine, tribulation, distress, persecution, nakedness, shame, guilt, peril, or sword could not remove you from it. So why do we look up? Because he gets us through. Why do I look up? Because he gets glory in it. Why do I look up? Because he's always going to be there and nothing can remove him from it. This year, I started the year with a word, and I told the church that I haven't mentioned it in a while, but I'm still standing on it. I just want you to know that. I'm standing on it for my family. I'm standing on it for everyone in here and everybody that's heard that word. But at the beginning of the year, God gave me the word, the big grapes are coming. And God gave me a word recently as I talked to Erica. I was outside of Walmart, Erica, in the car waiting for Jen to come in, and you shared that with me, and I looked it up and watched it. And then God gave me a word. He said, big grapes require big pressure to produce big wine. Shoo! Shoo! Church, not only are we going to have some big grapes, we're going to have some big wine. Some of that big new wine, you know what I mean? And we ain't going to be drinking it to get drunk. We're going to drink it to usher in the Spirit of God to move and do some things that we cannot do. Today, I usher that Spirit in and understanding that the big grapes require big pressure, and I'm going through some big pressure because we're about to have a big house, because we're about to have some big healings, because we're about to have a big purpose. We're about to have a big company. We're about to have big things that are kingdom related. We're about to have some big stuff. And the day that I remember, I sit down and I wake up and the enemy's like, you ain't getting nothing. Nothing. I could be like, you can't separate me from the love of Christ, who perfects me and establishes me and settles me. You can't remove me from it. You can't remove me from it. Because the doctor didn't know, but he be eating. The doctor didn't know, but he walked through Walmart picking out his clothes and Ross picking out his clothes. And he went home last night belly full and excited to go to school when we were worried that he wasn't going to make it through the first couple weeks. Woo! Woo! Big grapes require big pressure to produce new wine. Woo! Woo! Jesus. And nothing could take it. That new wine, that big grapes, those promises, that's the love of God made manifest here on earth. And he said, no evil will befall it. No evil will take it. You can't even let its little fingers on it. And as always, those in this room and those on the internet, if somebody hasn't told you today that they love you, let me be the first to tell you I love you and Jesus loves you. And nothing can separate you from it. That's what I got.